Did you know that Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders are among the fastest growing groups in the United States? And their stories have been centuries in the making. Join me as we explore objects, many of which are rarely seen by the public, collected by the largest museum, education, and research center in the world, the Smithsonian Institution.
Whoa, what is that?
Together, we'll investigate the stories behind those objects and learn how these communities continue to shape U.S. history and culture. People from all over the world and every corner of the United States come to work in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. That includes Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders who have served in all branches of the U.S. government, as well as the military. They've also led movements for social change and participated in protests on every issue imaginable.
Today, I'm meeting up with Dr. Janelle Wong at the American Democracy exhibit at Smithsonian's National Museum of American History. Janelle is a political scientist and professor of American Studies and Government and Politics at the University of Maryland. She's going to help me understand the impact and contributions these communities have on the American political system. Hi, Janelle. Thank you so much for meeting me here today.
It's great to be here with you, Gillian.
All right, first question I have for you. Can you give me a brief history on AAPI voting patterns?
This is such a great topic, and I'm excited to be here with these pins behind me because they really tell the story of Asian American voting patterns. We've seen real changes in the ways in which Asian Americans are expressing their political preferences. In the 1980s, a majority of Asian Americans voted for George H.W. Bush. And then in 2008, close to 70% voted for Barack Obama. This shows a kind of internal struggle for the hearts and minds of Asian American voters.
Definitely. That's so interesting. Thank you. Why is it important to examine civic engagement among the AAPI community?
Asian Americans provide just one important example of how a minority group in the United States really fights to engage in U.S. democratic processes, in U.S. civic life. They face barriers in terms of becoming naturalized citizens, they faced restrictions on voting, and yet we see this group that is coming together in a politically meaningful way to advocate for themselves, to advocate for minority rights in the U.S., and to make their voices heard.
Okay, now I have to ask, how are AAPI elected officials making a difference in AAPI voter participation?
We've seen a tremendous growth in the number of Asian American elected officials over time. And so that has happened at both the local level, at the school board level, and at the federal level as well. And I think that tells us a few things. One is that there is more engagement, but also there's a kind of reciprocal relationship. So as more Asian Americans vote, then more Asian American elected officials might win in their offices. But at the same time, those Asian American elected officials are representing Asian American voter preferences.
Janelle, this has been so interesting and so amazing. Incredible talking to you. I've learned so much today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your questions. I really enjoyed speaking with you.
So we've learned about the influence the AAPI community has had on the American political system. Now, let's explore a handful of artifacts collected from these communities and discover their significance in American political history. We are going to go behind the scenes and meet with Dr. John Grinspan, American History's Curator of Political History, to hear stories of AAPI civic engagement. Hi, John. It's so great to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
So tell me, where are we right now?
We're in the special collections of the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History. Most of our objects aren't on the floor, aren't on display. They're in secure collections upstairs. And today I pulled a couple objects that I think speak to why we collect objects, the history of American democracy, and AAPI history that might be useful to talk about.
Looks like we have a suit here. Can you tell me a little bit more about this?
The suit was worn by Congressman Andy Kim, who's a congressman from New Jersey, during the January 6th riot. And after being secluded and barricaded with his staff, he came out into the Capitol Rotunda and saw it strewn with garbage and all the damage those rioters did to the Capitol. And he remembered entering that rotunda as a small child on a visit to DC with his parents, who were immigrants from South Korea, and how much it meant to him. And seeing it filled with trash really struck him. And he's wearing his nice congressman's suit. He has work to do that night. It's a really important night in the history of our democracy, but he gets some garbage bags and he gets down on his knees and starts filling the bags with trash. He gets fire extinguisher foam on his suit because they've done that as well. And he plays a role in cleaning this up. There's this horrible moment there. There's a minority who are subverting our democracy, and there are also people who are trying to clean up, trying to make things right, trying to restore order.
I think a lot of people for generations to come will remember that moment.
Yeah, we were really honored that he donated to us.
What was the decision to collect these objects like?
There's no roadmap for what should be in a museum and what shouldn't. So we look at what's happening in politics, in the news, and we look back through the collection, see if there's resonances. Some of these objects, like Representative Kim's suit, has a personal story, and we can always tell that story. And we're always thinking about how they will speak to the current collection and how we will speak to the public about why we collected them.
John, thank you again so much for pulling these items that the general public would normally not get to see.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders have a rich and complex history in American politics. Their stories, marked by resilience, enlighten and inspire us. As we've seen, AAPI communities have always been civically engaged and organized. They couldn't afford not to be. Voter participation is just one way we impact the political process. What object would you choose to tell your story?